Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. Greta Thunberg has found herself in quite a dilemma. The climate conference she was planning on attending in Chile has been canceled. The reason for the cancellation is that protesters in Chile have been causing chaos. They're protesting the high cost of transportation, which is largely due to green energy policies like those advocated by Greta Thunberg. So the conference has been moved from Chile to Madrid, Spain. This is a huge problem for Greta because the adults around her have made her terrified of plane travel. They've told her that if she travels on a plane, it will increase CO2 emissions and cause hurricanes and bad weather in other parts of the world. She's struggling to find a way across the Atlantic. So I made a friendly suggestion to Greta. Dear Greta, over 100 years ago, humans developed a new technology called the airplane. They run off fossil fuels and can get you to Madrid in a few hours. If you attended school, you might have learned this. I made a few points in this short tweet. One was that her dilemma was ridiculous and easily solvable, and the other was that she belonged in school. Hundreds of millions of people travel on aircraft every year, and the vast majority of airplane flights have empty seats. The plane was going to fly overseas anyway, so nothing that Greta Thunberg does or doesn't do has any impact on emissions. Greta's dilemma is easily solvable. She could simply get on an airplane and be in Madrid in a few hours. But the problem here doesn't actually have anything to do with CO2 emissions. It's that a 16-year-old child is being abused for propaganda purposes by adults around her. After I made my suggestion, I got a barrage of nasty responses from an army of trolls. They accused me of attacking her by making a practical suggestion which would resolve her problem. The last thing alarmists want is for her problem to be resolved, because they're using her for propaganda. What these people are doing is they're using this little girl as a human shield. They're putting her out in front of themselves in hopes that this will deflect fire away from them. Leonardo DiCaprio calls Greta the leader of our time. They've put her on a pedestal as a world leader and at the same time want her deflecting fire as a 16-year-old child. This is an incredibly cynical strategy, but it's a commonly used one. 40 years ago this week, Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. And as they stormed the embassy, they put the girls out in front because they knew that U.S. Marines wouldn't shoot at girls. The use of human shields is how terrorists with no morals or ethics operate. Decent people would put the children in a place of safety. This is what the University of Tehran looked like 40 years ago. The university was a place of learning. And this is what happened to women in Iran after the extremists took over. It should be obvious that people who use women and children as human shields do not care about women and children. My solution for Greta was to simply purchase an airplane ticket and get on an airplane. But Andy Revkin of the New York Times exposed the real agenda. He said, I think a binge buy of decent carbon credits, there are some, by a batch of folks could more than justify a Greta Thunberg flight back to Europe. So it's clear that the goal of climate alarmists is to make travel as difficult as possible, and that you'll have to get permission and consent from lots of other people before you can get on an airplane. They want to take away everybody's freedom and create a totalitarian state controlled by their philosophy. And why doesn't Leonardo DiCaprio simply take his new little friend on his 450-foot-long yacht across the ocean? This whole thing is a total clown show of child-abusing hypocrites. They all need to be exposed and shut down. Leave this poor child alone. Let her go back to school and let her live a normal life. Tomorrow morning I'll be getting on an airplane to Washington, D.C. to help sort this mess out. Visit Toto on the web at RealClimateScience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.